I was trying to figure out, like, I was like, "Hey, Melita," and I'm like, "Oh no, she's like really zoned in." I was on mute. I was like,
No.
I probably shouldn't talk to her right now.
You're funny. No chicks after I left.
Hmm.
Better hatch.
I wonder. I wonder why.
I know. It all worked last year.
Yeah, they all but how many?
We got about half last year, which the lady said that that's pretty typical.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Hey guys,
Hi.
Hello.
I'm in the office and oh, here it goes. Never mind.
Hi,
This is fun.
Dana.
Hi.
Somebody go get the wine quick. Okay. We're all ready for it, right?
Does everybody have snacks?
Oh, Jesus.
Oh, see, there you go. Smart. Smart, smart.
They're like eating dinner downstairs, so I just pounded like half a sandwich.
Mm.
Oh,
I have
man.
Cheez-Its.
Those are actually surprisingly filling because they had that for snack today in class. And I was sneaking a few, and I was like, "Oh, these are satisfying it."
They are.
I pounded some leftovers for lunch, Dana. Everybody else knows this. There's a few of us at school that love this combination, turkey ham and cottage cheese. So today it was French toast sticks. I hate those, but the turkey ham is so great. And I'm not a huge cottage cheese fan, but when you put the turkey ham with it, and it's not even that greasy, but it's so gross. It sounds so gross, but it is so good. Even the kids in the red room today, I was helping with lunch and I was serving it, and I was like, somebody was, I said, "What have you tried?" They love both of them separately. Did you try them together? And they go, "Well, no, that I haven't done that." And I go, "I know it sounds really gross, right? But you got to try it. It's really good." It was Adela and Maddie.
No.
That's so funny. I buy cottage cheese all the time because I feed it to my dog.
Do you really? Is that good for dogs or something?
I put it in her little like topple thing, and then I put it in the freezer with like some fruit, and she loves it. Yeah. Her trainer actually recommended it, so
Interesting.
not like every day, like maybe once a week or something.
Yeah, like a treat.
It's a treat. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I actually got my dog trainer from Miss Jenny.
Oh, really?
Oh.
Yeah. She used
Is
her
it
too.
Angie?
Angela, yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah. That's because I recommended her to Jenny.
Really? That's so funny. Yeah, she's at my house all the time.
All right,
She's
I want
awesome.
credits. No.
I didn't know that.
That's what you need.
Yeah, because I wanted, this was back when we wanted Sadie to pass her CGC test. And so she came to my house and I was like, I haven't really had to like train her because she's so good, but like I didn't know how to do like the basic commands. And so she showed me how to do that. And then Jenny was like, "Oh, I need a trainer." I was like, "Oh, I'll send you my girl."
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. Yeah, she comes over like every other week now.
Oh wow, that's
We
great.
were like once a week since we got Coda. Like,
oh wow.
So we're using her for the whole year.
Okay, that's great.
We haven't had a puppy, so she's awesome at helping us with the puppy stage because I'm not used to that.
Yeah, for sure.
And
no, puppies are like newborns.
I was gonna say she's a lot. She's a lot, but she's really smart though. She's like doing really well with her training. So
good.
Super grateful. So no, she's wonderful. So well, thank you too then.
Yeah. Yeah, so our dog passed like 4.5 years ago. And then we went to Petland, and not like I was planning on buying a dog from a pet store or anything, but I just wanted to hold one and gauge my emotional readiness. And, you know, it was nippy and Julia started crying. She was like, oh, and I was like, Julia, all puppies are like this. Like, this is how they are. They're learning, you know? I was like,
Yeah.
yeah, teach them. She's like, then I don't want a puppy. So we got Sadie, who was a year old and like out of that stage, and she was already housebroken. So it was like pretty sweet.
See, we were just the opposite. I wanted an older dog. I didn't want a puppy. And
Yeah.
every dog we went to see, Charlie hated. And then we went and saw the puppies and she fell in love.
Aw.
And she was like, I want this one. I want this one. Like she picked Coda out. And so I was like, all right, I guess we're getting a puppy.
Yeah.
Because I needed another dog, like right
Yeah,
away.
I know.
I couldn't not have a dog.
It feels weird without him.
Especially being home so much, like, you know, since the pandemic and stuff, like,
Yeah.
it was just way too quiet. I like couldn't handle it.
Yeah.
So she's good. She'll be good.
All right, we'll wait one more minute. There's supposed to be about 12 on. And most of it's going to be, I prepared a PowerPoint. And I'm just going to write in the chat right now in case anybody pops on after. That if you have questions throughout, feel free to type it in the chat so that way we don't forget. And then we'll look back at the questions. And if we've already answered it throughout the presentation, then great. And if not, then we'll go to those first. Okay. All right, I'm going to go ahead and start sharing my screen. You guys let me know if you can see everything. Okay, good.
Yep.
Okay, well, let's go ahead and just get started because you guys were on time, so thank you. Okay, so first, thanks for joining. This is something that we actually, during COVID, we actually created a whole series of videos on YouTube about this topic. And so I've listed that as a resource at the end. So if you guys are ever interested in those videos, you can just look up, I always search Teresa's name. So I always just look up Teresa Heinen, and then all of the MCG videos are there. And then there's like a specific playlist that has, it's called Montessori at Home. And so it touches in more detail on each of the different areas of the home. I'm gonna try not to assume anything regarding your space of homes and like what's available to you, because everybody's house is different. And so I'm just gonna try to be very broad and you know, you guys adjust to whatever your living situation is. I'm also not going to tell you how to parent or decorate your home. But if you want to incorporate the philosophy at home, these are the things that you would do in order and to consider in order to do that. So that's all that this is. Okay, so the Montessori philosophy isn't just an educational philosophy. In my opinion, it's a way of life, and it's incorporated across settings and environments. And so we always talk about consistency, right? We always talk about our language, especially, and the more consistent that we can be with our children across environments, the easier for them and the better for everybody. And so just these main pillars are respect for the child, independence, freedom within limits, which was its own topic at our last parent education meeting. So I'm not going to go too far into that because we already touched on that. and then a peaceful and prepared environment. So today, the main things that we are going to talk about, a bulk of it is going to be focused on the prepared environment and setting the child up for success, observing and following the child. So, okay, so why the focus on the environment? So, sorry, hang on one second. I'm trying to figure out how to move this. There we go. So Dr. Montessori said that children needed a world at their eye level, comprised of an environment full of order and beauty, with everything having a place and furniture light enough for them to move as they see fit. So this is a picture there's Maria. And probably one of her first classrooms, environments. And so I always tell people that she was the first one to recognize that we needed to adapt our environment to fit the needs of the children, not the other way around. And so having furniture that's small and light, having everything at their eye level, and really she really advocated for a lot of beauty, naturally beautiful things, so like glass and wood, a lot of natural materials. Okay, and then we focus on the environment too because every person wants to feel that they belong. And so by creating intentional ways to involve our children in daily activities and allowing children to be active participants in their environments, then they feel ownership and belonging. So I'll share an example. When I first started dating my now husband, I was at his house and we had been dating for a while, like a month or two. And he like broke a glass or something, and I went to go get like a broom to sweep it up, and he was like, no, you sit down. Like he was trying to be chivalrous and like let me relax. And you would think like, oh, that's so sweet and nice, but for me, I actually felt upset in that moment because I felt like I didn't belong in that house. Like I still wasn't a participant in his house, and therefore I didn't belong. So I don't know, maybe I'm just an uber sensitive woman, but that's how I felt in that moment. And I think translating that to our children, of like, if we are always kind of holding the reins of the household, then they may not feel that sense of belonging because there's no purpose for them. Which leads us to the next one, purpose, which every person wants to feel a sense of purpose and that what they're doing in their day-to-day life is meaningful. And so I was thinking about how we as adults think about like our careers, like what, when sometimes we get in a funk with our jobs and it's like, oh man, what I'm doing isn't meaning anything. Like I'm bored with it. And so we want our children who, they can't have careers at this point. So their main life is contributing to their classroom or to their home. And so we want to make sure that they feel purposeful. And then every person wants to feel that they matter, that they're worth something, and that they are enough. And by allowing our children to participate in the family and home, then they grow in confidence and feel valued. A lot of this really goes back to building their confidence and self-esteem. And then finally, responsibility. Every person wants to feel that the bar is set high for them, that we expect a lot from them, and that we know that they can do it, that there are good things expected of them. And if not, it could start creating a pattern of like, well, it doesn't really matter, so why put forth the effort? So the first main thing when it comes to setting the environment is organization. So the first thing that you're going to want to do, and actually before we even dive into this, let me just preface this by saying, like, nobody's perfect and nobody's going to do this 100% all of the time. Like, this is ideal and what we're striving for. But by no means is my house like this at all. But we try to put these things in place and adhere to it as much as possible, right? So that's my preface in all of this. But the first thing you want to do is determine where each item belongs. So for us at our home, and I apologize, but I'm going to be using a lot of examples just from my own personal life. Anytime something new comes into the house, my question to my husband and my child and myself is always, okay, where's its home? Where's this going? So for example, for Valentine's Day, my husband's so romantic, he bought me a food chopper. and it kept sitting on the counter. And I finally was like, Eric, where is this going? Like, where's its home? Because I can't have it just sitting on the counter. It doesn't really make sense to be here. So we shuffled some things and then we found a place in one of the cabinets and we were like, okay, it's gonna live here. So always where's its home and where's this gonna live? Providing labels or pictures for items. I love my label maker. We have one in each classroom at school too. And for our students and children who can't quite read yet, pictures are great. And I would even prefer to do a picture and a word label with it. And I feel like those are somewhat simple to make. And you can be as specific as you'd like. I would say the more specific you can get, depending on your space availability, the better. Because it's harder when you just have like bins of things. Then you just have a lot of one thing in one bin. Whereas so if you have a bin of like train stuff, it'd be nice if you could have like a small container of the actual trains and then maybe one of the tracks. So just an idea. Being consistent. So you have to create a system and have the pictures and labels to start it, but it doesn't mean anything if you're not consistent with it. So it's important to be following through and be practicing that as much as possible. Of course, like I said, it's not going to be 100% of the time, but the more you can do it, the easier it's going to be to find things in the future. Be picky about what enters your home. This I always think about with grandparents. So I have always struggled with my parents and my in-laws where they love to just like get little trinkets here and there for Julia, and it's like all of a sudden there's all this clutter. And also at Christmas and birthdays, there's an influx of things that enters the home. So be picky about that. And then also what I try to do is, especially now that the world has opened up again, is asking and requesting experience-based gifts versus items, or gift certificates to things. And that way you're purchasing experiences and memories versus toys that have a short life in your home and then kind of get lost in the shuffle of everything. As you're organizing everything, you want to make sure that you utilize, what you have. And then if you're finding that you need containers or bins or baskets or whatever it is, then you buy the containers. So it's easy to kind of fall in love with like, oh, I'm going to go to IKEA and get all this stuff. And then you have a lot of stuff that doesn't really serve the purpose that you need it for. So kind of plan out how you want to organize first and then go out and purchase the containers. Purge periodically. I would even go far as to say frequently. maybe like once every quarter, like once every 3 months, you're purging and going through things. Especially, so what I typically do too is, before the birthday and before Christmas, when you get that influx of materials and toys and things like that, then that's when you want to purge and say, okay, do you want to keep this? Do you want to donate it? Can we throw this out? And you make those piles and you purge, purge, purge. This also helps your child to get in this mindset and this practice of purging and not hanging on to things that are unnecessary. So I find that to be really helpful. Like at this point, I'll be like, Julia, do you want this? And she's like, no, you can get rid of it. So it's really, you're building that up. Also, not even with toys, but also with clothes, you want to purge. So as seasons change, I feel like I fell into this trap where I would like keep clothes and I don't know for what. And so then I just had all these clothes and I spent one whole weekend once where I just like went through clothes and I was like, I don't know why I held on to all this. So make it easier on yourself and just do it as the seasons change. And if like, there's no more kids coming down the line, then you donate those clothes because you're done with them. Keep a few for memories if you want, but for the most part, like just get rid of it. You don't need it anymore. Here's my fun picture of less is more. So some of you may have heard of toy rotations where you have certain toys out and you want not many toys out. And then maybe after 2 weeks or 3 weeks, you box those up and you pull another box out from somewhere else, a basement or something, and you put new toys out. That way it keeps it exciting for the students and it's like, oh, this is something new. We do the same thing in our classrooms. So our shelves are not cluttered. We only have a certain amount of room on each shelf. And so we try not to like pack it in. And we also change things out occasionally just to spice it up for them. And almost always that's the new thing, whatever the new thing is, the kids are always like, oh, I want to try that next, or they kind of get excited about something new. So you can do that even with the toys that you already have because they haven't seen it for a few weeks. Now all of a sudden it feels new. And then you want to include your child in all of this. So as you're coming up with a plan, ask them like, oh, where should we put your trucks? Do you want them here? Okay, great. Where should we put these train tracks? Okay, great. Let's put them here. And then you guys can, make the labels together and everything. I always compare like anything that you're doing with your child, the more buy-in you're going to have in the long run. So same with like cooking, whenever we have like picky eaters, I always suggest having the child participate in the cooking because now they've had a hand in it. They know what's in it. And they're proud of themselves for doing it. And so they're more likely to be invested in it and keeping it up.
Melina, can I interject a couple things?
For sure.
So I love the process of only putting a few things out. If you got low shelves and you got the toys organized, so you just have a few things out. And that's sometimes hard for us because they have so much stuff. But then when you think about purging or what you're leaving out or what you're bringing in, I mean, it really is as simple as what are they really taking out and playing with and getting engaged in. So often we might take something off the shelf because we don't see a child getting engrossed in it or really even reaching out for it. So we might put it away for a few weeks and then bring it out again. But, if you've brought it out a second time, don't just leave it there because grandma bought it for them or it's something, you really want them to do. If they're not interested in it, that's for toys, the best reason to get rid of it, so really kind of, I think a really good guideline to use. And then when Melita was talking about like labels for everything, I mean, we love labels around here. I'm sure all you guys like labels, but I love just even thinking of like Carson, getting a picture of cars and coloring that in and then getting to help tape that label on the bin, how much more is he now? Does he feel a part of it and take ownership for putting those cars back in the bin? So it's those kind of simple things that we kind of think, oh, we're going to get it all ready for them. But really just anything you can do to just keep thinking. And it starts, the more you do it, the easier it becomes. And you realize like how fun it is for them too. And then that's how you get their buy-in and so much. So just a couple things that popped in, Lita.
Yeah, no, it's good. Yeah, and even maybe using the phone to take a picture of whatever the items are. So if it's not like a graphic from the computer, but you actually want to take pictures of whatever the items are, have them take the picture. We know that they love it because we all get pictures on our phones of their faces like this. Okay, so then the next thing that is really a staple in preparing the environment is accessibility. So I always recommend getting down on their level. So getting down on your knees and looking at the world from their point of view. I remember, actually, this is so funny. I'm thinking of this just now. When I was little, my dad would lift me up, and he's like 6'1", and he would lift me up to where his face was, but like outwardly, so that I could see the world from his perspective. And I was like, oh my God, you can see over the refrigerator? Like, it was like mind blowing to me. So I think if we forget what it's like to be on their level, and so to get down on their level and really like kind of walk around on our knees and scooch around and see like, okay, is this in reach of them? And I don't want it to be in reach for them. Or on the flip side, I want this to be in reach for them and they can't reach it. So how am I going to fix that? And then you want to bring things low that you want them to access, like I just said. So like artwork, if you look in our classrooms, our artwork, especially in the toddler room, isn't on the walls necessarily. They're on the backs of the shelves because that's where the children are and that's where they're looking. Mirrors, also very low. Shelves have to be low. I think that's like the biggest staple, because otherwise, how are they supposed to reach it? They can't be independent if they're constantly asking you for help to reach certain things. And pictures, love pictures, because maybe they can't carry an entire gallon of milk, but they can, if you get a small pitcher and put it in the door of the refrigerator, then they can easily access that. So actually, I'm going to switch out and I'm going to switch to one of the videos that, hang on, I'm having a hard time. I'm moving this around. Here we go. That we made back in the day. And this just shows, this is Julia showing like how she would get her picture. So here you can kind of see picture. This was our like little setup with this cabinet with her plates and bowls. Wow. So she would get her cup from there. And then she goes, gets her pitcher, is able to pour it. And then she puts it right back in the door. And then she takes it back. So all of that, I didn't have to have a hand in. She's totally independent, able to get what she needs without our help. So that's the goal. Okay, let me get back to here. Okay. So that was pictures, and then raising them up. So if you can't bring it down, raise them up. So I'm sure you guys have seen these like special step stools that have been around, which are really nice. So if you can get a hold of those are great. I've seen Nicole giving a thumbs up. So
They're great. We love them. Carson loves these things.
yeah, they look beautiful and like just super functional and practical. So those are great. And then also things like light switch adapters where you can like attach those to the light switch, so if they can't reach the light switch, then they can just like pull it up and down. So these next pictures are examples of some kitchens, example setups. This I thought was really nice, this like little corner console. And you can see all of the different kind of features that we'll talk about later, but like they have their dishes and snacks that are easily accessible, the tools that are easily accessible. So all of these things are right there for them. You know who's it's intended for. So I love that. Here's another example. So we have, again, pictures that are low to the ground. They've got a little table and chairs. They've got this little station. You're going to see across these pictures that there's always some sort of like table or cabinet or some sort of surface where is like their hub. So they're creating a hub essentially. And then all these common features to it. So then there's like a dishcloth. I think that's hugely important in the kitchen is to have some sort of basket with dishcloths available or washcloths available so that when they inevitably spill something, they know exactly where to go and that there's somewhere to put it when they're finished wiping it up. So you kind of have to create that system. A water source is always great. A mirror, we always have a mirror next to our tissues so that they can be looking in the mirror to see if they got everything that they need to get. Cutlery, you know, this whole little system of like a broom and mop. They love to clean, which people don't realize. They love it. I would say the most sought after material in the Blue Room sometimes is our little duster thing on a stick. Like they love it. And then here's another one. Again, like this looks like just a little IKEA table, a cheapy little table. You can go on Facebook Marketplace too to get stuff like this. And again, snacks, a water source. Looks like they have a little lint roller here, a spray bottle, a squeegee, a towel. And then here's what you can do with your refrigerator of just having their snacks really low so that they can easily access it. Things that you're okay with no matter what. I would never have it this stocked. I'm impressed. So here's more of these kitchen features. So again, a water source, washcloths and towels, snacks, child-friendly knives. Those are great. You can get those on any like Montessori website or even Amazon. I ordered ours in the purple room on Amazon. And they're usually like 20 bucks or less for like a full complete set. And then a place for dishes. Like I said, I always had just our little cabinet with plates and bowls and cups and everything right there for them. And then this pitcher, love the pitcher. Okay, so now we're gonna transition to the family room and I'm gonna hold the slide for like 10 or 15 seconds for each picture. And instead of me pointing out the features, which I will at the end, I want you guys to either type in the chat or just speak up as to what you're noticing as far as features for like a family room or playroom space. So here's the first one. Here's the second. Here's 2 spaces. And here's the last one. Okay, so what features did you notice? And I'll leave it on this one just so that we can have a reference.
That Charlie's playroom does not look like that.
I know these are all really like beautiful.
No, but they're just like really simple. Like I like that it's not overwhelming.
Yeah.
There's definitely no clutter. It's super organized. For sure. I see it's all very accessible. Definitely eye level, so a child can easily pick up whatever they want to play with. And it's down their eye level. So definitely accessible.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, those are all great features.
1 or 2 things per shelf is what I'm seeing. If that were the case, then I would have to buy 80 shelving units.
Right, but then that's where the toy rotation comes in.
Yeah. It's hard with 2 kids. With 2 kids 3 and under is hard because I feel like you can't rotate what the 2 or 3-year-old grows out of it, because then it becomes the next like toy to be used by the younger kids. So
yeah, and maybe you have, if you have the space, like 2 of these like cube things, right? Like one for your 2-year-old and then one for Carson, you know, and it's like then they know. And I think
you just heard your voice. Is that it's like in the next
hey
room.
buddy.
Say it. He goes, that's Alita.
Yeah, what was I gonna say? The cubes. Shoot, it's gone. That always happens to me.
While you're thinking of it, Melita,
Yeah.
I'll just speak to Nicole, what you're saying too. You know, I think too, you could have, I like the idea of 2 different shelves for each of them, and you put the other stuff away. You know, you don't, even if you have a multitude of toys that you love, for them to just put it away and pick, you know, a few. But then you know, you could have maybe some of the higher ones are for Carson, and some, if it's one shelf, higher for Carson and lower for your younger. Thing I would just like to say on all the slides, don't you just want to go in there and start playing with everything? It's almost like the simpler it is, the more inviting it is. And if we feel that, your child feels that too.
Yeah. I remember what I was going to say, and it's because Dana, you mentioned about the simplicity of it all. I think when I go into any public elementary school, I immediately get overwhelmed, because I think the thought process there is like the more colorful, the better. And to me, it feels overwhelming. I feel like all of these, like it's very like a blank slate almost. And then the art is what pops out to me, versus like, I feel like typically there's like bulletin boards with borders and, you know, stuff hanging from the ceiling, and there's so much going on that it's like, oh my gosh, where do I even look, you know? Whereas these, because there's few toys out, and because it's just kind of calm, like it's already calming to me just like looking at this picture of this playroom. And so yeah, it is something that becomes more inviting, and that then your child's able to focus more on, right? That focus is going to last longer if your environment is calm and their mind isn't having to compete with that. So here's just some of the staples that I saw was open shelves. I like the open shelves over bins necessarily. I know that that's not always possible. I know a lot of our kids like Magna-Tiles and Legos, and all those have to be in a bin. But the more visible things are, I think the better it is for them. a minimal number of toys, a small chair. I think that is lovely and that they really enjoy that. And look at how stylish this chair is. I was like, oh my gosh. And then just a set of small table and chairs so that they can, I always liked having some sort of a table where like I didn't mind if crayon or paint got on it, you know, and that, yeah, it's like not gonna hurt anybody, and that's the space to be colorful and creative, right? Books. Again, with books, you also want to make sure that you're purging through your books too. Because I actually just made a shift in this area up here where I made our loft. Our loft used to be Julia's like playroom, but she's 9 now and doesn't really play with toys anymore. And so we kind of transformed it to be my craft room because my craft closet was exploding. And so as we were going through everything, I was like, holy cow, we accumulated so many books and so many board books and things like that that we do not use anymore. So once your child starts aging out of certain things, like get rid of those, donate those, you know, like my whole trunk was full of books. And I was like, oh, I totally forgot about purging through books. And same thing as far as displaying it. You don't want to put like a ton out. So just, you know, kind of, you can even do like a book rotation, which the Purple Room does that, where they have bins of books organized by like season and topic, and we have like a school library like that, and then we take books away from the shelf and we put new ones out. So it's kind of the same idea. And then just some sort of like carpet or rug, or even implementing what we do at school where we have the rugs that you can take out and roll out so that they can have their defined space of where they can keep things so that your house isn't just like totally taken over. So that it's like, oh, this is where your work is, or this is where your toys go. And then when you're done, you put it back. Care of the environment is also a major part of the Montessori philosophy. And not only does it mean like, I want to extend this out to like, it goes to like care of self, care of the classroom environment and like the home environment, and also like our earth, our outdoor environment. So respecting items and materials. So this is like being gentle with our materials, not like throwing them, being careful with them. So like if you have a pitcher and you're walking across the room holding it with 2 hands versus kind of holding on to it and it's sloshing all around, walking versus running, holding anything with 2 hands. Sometimes, you know, I'll see a child holding a tray and it may be a little heavy, but their hands aren't centered, so it's like closer to them and they don't have that leverage, so there's more likelihood of it falling. So just coaching them through how to like appropriately hold and handle things. Grace and courtesy. What do you guys think that grace and courtesy means?
I think like using manners and also like you know, I'm just going to give an example, like if they want to speak and someone's speaking, that they don't just like blurt out, that they like come up and tap the shoulder and you know, that kind of thing.
Yes, it's one of my pet peeves, I'll be honest, is the interrupting.
Tell me about it.
Because it's a respect thing, right? If somebody's talking to somebody, whether it's a child or an adult or whatever, to me, what that's communicating is that what I have to say is more important than what you're already engaged in. And so we want to teach the child that, you know, you need to wait your turn, you know. But yes, that's definitely grace and courtesy. Some other examples are showing them how to blow their own nose, coughing into their elbow, manners, like you were saying, pushing in chairs, holding doors, helping if something spills, waiting in line. asking to join and play, and greeting someone. So that also includes like how like you address people, right? Today I was in the yellow room and I had a boy who I think just thinks that this one girl is just so cute and he can't help himself. And he like went up to her and like put his hands on both sides of her cheeks and like went up to kiss her. And I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. And so I pulled him aside and quite honestly, the girl didn't look pleased about it, you know? And so I said, you know what? I said, I know you really want to show your friend that you care for her. I said, but her body is her body, and it's up to her to say who's touching it. So if you want to show that affection, you have to ask her first. And I said, and if you hear a no, then it's a no. I said, if you hear nothing, it's a no. And if you hear yes, then it's a yes. I said, so you need to ask first and then wait for that response. I mean, really, I was just teaching consent there, right? And so that to me is part of grace and courtesy as well. Like, how are we interacting with others? And just those teachable moments, right? Like, I didn't plan on having that chat that day, but I saw it and I was like, okay, let's talk about this, you know? I didn't say it in a way that was like shaming him or saying like, oh no, this was a terrible thing that you just did. It was just like, let's talk about this, you know? And how can we move forward in the future with this? So yeah, I love grace and courtesy because I feel like it encompasses a lot of things there. Picking up after themselves, I think that's a huge part of caring for the environment. And I also feel like it shows respect to you guys, right? Like, I feel like it's unfair if moms and dads and grandparents are just constantly following their child behind and trying to pick everything up as they go. And they leave this bread trail of crumbs of like things that they've been doing. It's, you know, because I know that they're capable of it. So don't let them think that they aren't, because they do it at school, all of them. So they are capable of doing it. You just have to hold that expectation and make sure you follow through and are consistent with them so that they're, you know, practicing that.
Melita,
Yeah.
I just wanted to say something about picking up after themselves. When you have the environment set up for them, especially I see this in the playroom here at our house, it's easier for them to clean up. When there is more, and usually around Christmas, this happens like right after Christmas, because there's more, they're less willing to pick up because it's so much. It's like you said, it's overwhelming. So then I go through and then I do the cycling and I leave the new toys out. And even if they're not like, you know, I try to sort by, you know, if it's like math or science or you know, I try to include like the Montessori, you know, practical
like
life
avenues. Yeah.
But at Christmas, it's like, okay, everything is new. Let's just put it out there. It doesn't have to be an avenue, and then it goes back to oh yeah, I can put this back and put it back where it belongs, rather than it being an explosion. So I wanted to touch up on and say it gets easier.
Yes.
I don't even have to say anything because it gets pulled back.
Yeah, I think that's a great point of like reinforcing that less is more concept. I think if anything, that's the one major takeaway, because I think we always feel like, oh, they don't have enough to play with. And it's like, they have plenty. Like, even if you have like 8 things out, that it's a good amount, you know, and they're going to focus on it. And then you can do that rotation as frequently as you see fit, you know? So yeah, that's great. One item out at a time is another big thing. I think that kind of goes hand in hand with the picking up after themselves, right? If they're not going to pick up after themselves, then all of a sudden there's like 6 different things that are out and now they're mixed up, and like, oh, here's this bracelet making kit with all these beads and it's mixed in with these Legos, and now I have to pick each one individually, and now it's become a chore versus like, oh, I just put this away and now the next thing comes out. Whenever I have students who don't like to pick up after themselves, I try to break it down because sometimes it can be too overwhelming for them. So for example, once I was with a student in the toddler room and they didn't want to put the dollhouse materials away. So then I try to make it smaller and give them a choice. Because then you're saying, well, you're going to pick it up. It's just a matter of which one you're picking up first, buddy. And so it's, okay, do you want to put the mommy away first or the daddy first? And then he was like, oh, the mommy. Okay, let's put the mommy back. Do you want to put the daddy away or the pillow back next? The pillow. Okay, great. And now all of a sudden they're picking up, and you're not, and then you can phase that out and they're just picking it up. So breaking it down, or if it's Legos, okay, let's put all the red ones away first. Okay, great. Okay, let's put all the yellow ones away next. So just if there is that resistance, giving them a choice between the two, not will you pick it up or won't you, it's you're going to pick it up, but which one are we doing first? And then resourcefulness and conservation. Oh my goodness, it hurts my heart so much when I see a child washing their hands and that faucet is just go and go and go and go. And so teaching them to turn the water off once they wet their hands and get soap and they're washing, and then they can turn the water back on. Same when they're brushing their teeth, all those things. We're actually going to do an Earth Day celebration next month for the first time. And so that's something that, you know, that we just feel like should be a focus, is taking care of our earth and our homes. So let's see. Okay, so where to start? This can feel overwhelming. But start with one room at a time. You don't have to upheave your entire home right away this weekend. Like, don't feel like that's what needs to happen. You could even start with the bathroom, which is a pretty easy room to kind of Montessori-ize in a way, right? Or the kitchen or wherever. Just start with one area, or even, I mean, it's kind of the same thing that I just said about the dollhouse, but I'm doing it for you guys now, right? It's okay, I want to do the family room. Let me put artwork down low. That can be one weekend. Then the next weekend, okay, let me tackle the books. Okay, great. Next weekend, okay, now let's tackle the toys. And so you kind of, you can do it in pieces. It doesn't have to be this whole like home makeover show.
With your child.
With your child.
Every step. What could we do? What do you do at school? Oh, okay. Get them to talk to you. They know what to do, you know? Yeah. Yep. So with your child. You really shouldn't tackle the whole thing at once. Like Malia said, you should feel like better if you're just doing small things well. Then turning over the whole house is not doing it well because their child isn't involved. And now they don't know where they're overwhelmed now because the whole system is different, you know?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Having your child help, start with what bugs you the most and just kind of take care of that. Adjust as they grow. So I have a coat hook for Julia by our door that we always come in. And it was lower than it is now. And then as she grew, I was like, Eric, we're going to need to move this sucker up because she's tall and her coats are dragging and she's too tall for it. So adjust as they grow. That's just how it all happens. Don't get overwhelmed. I'll give you a pep talk if you need it. And then have conversations regarding each change. So that kind of goes hand in hand with having your child help. But I love the idea, and I've talked about this at our last parent education meeting, but having family meetings and talking about like, okay, we really need to figure out what we're going to do with our coats and shoes, because it's not working for us right now, and this is what's happening. So like what can we do this weekend to help fix that, so that it's easier for us to all get our coats and to all get our shoes, so that our shoes aren't all out. We should really only just have like one pair out, and just talk through that and come up with a plan and then execute that plan.
And that's a great example of starting with something that's bugging you the most. Because, you know, just based on what I hear and what I see, you know, that's one of the hardest things. The shoes are all over, the coats are on the floor. And from the start, they walk in and, you know, the house becomes a mess, you know, and it's just because there's not a designated place, you know. So that's the part about what does it bug me the most, because she can't get a drink herself, or she can't get the milk herself, or every time I get going on something, they want a snack. Whatever it is that bugs you the most, that's a great focus to start on.
Okay, so we're going to shift from preparing our home environment, which is a big piece of it, to other parts of the Montessori philosophy. And so the next one is observe. So it's hard to just step back and not participate in whatever it is that they're doing. But this is what we as teachers do every day. So we present works to children for sure, but the best parts of our day is when we can simply sit and watch the children and see them working. So you're just watching, listening, and observing. You want to try not to interfere with your child. Don't ask questions or offer help unless they've asked for it, or jump into the play. That also includes like words of praise. I think we all, myself included, have this gut knee-jerk reaction to say like, oh, good job. Oh, that's looking so good. Oh, da 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 da. But what that actually does is it draws focus away from what it is that they're doing, and it interrupts their focus and their train of thought. After they're finished, you can say, man, I was watching you work and I could tell you were really working hard on that. That was awesome to watch. Those words, I think, mean so much more to them than, oh, an empty good job. That looks nice. Good picture, you know? So giving that specific praise after they're finished with whatever it is that they're doing. So like Carson today, he was doing magnetiles this morning, and he made a really cool structure. And I was watching him. I obviously wasn't like, oh, Carson, that's great. But afterwards, he came to me and said, Miss Melita, look at what I built. And so then I went with him and I said, oh, tell me about it. And he was telling me, oh, this is this and this is that. And so to me, that is a more meaningful interaction, right? Watching without judgment. Sometimes they can surprise you. Sometimes I'm watching two students interact and I am thinking it's going to go one way and it actually goes the other. So you want to be quick, unless there's some sort of like safety issue involved. Sometimes it's nice to just like give them that extra 5 or 10 seconds and see where it actually goes. And then taking notes. I know this feels like really formal, but like I like taking notes. And here's the example that I'll use too, is like, so my sister, I have, my niece is 4 and she has a lot of like asthma issues and allergy issues, and she'll break out at random times and she has to go to the hospital for a nebulizer treatment and all this stuff. And I said to my sister, are you writing things down about when, like what it is she's eating and what happens right before? And she's like, no. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like I would be writing all this stuff down, because you're collecting data, essentially, right? And like, then you can maybe notice patterns. So if you would do that for your child when it comes to their physical health, why wouldn't you do that to carry it over to like their mental health, essentially, right? So just taking notes of like, oh, they're, you know, they're into this right now. Oh, they said this for the first time. I never heard them say this word before. Like, that's kind of cool, you know? So yeah, I mean, for us as teachers, we do it to track our kids' progress and things like that. But I think it doesn't hurt to also, you know, do it on your phone. Sometimes I'll just like write quotes that Julia says in my notes on my phone. It doesn't even have to be like a formal paper and pen type thing. So yeah, I love note taking. I'm always like, document everything. And then watch your child's movements, both big and small. Every movement that they make has a purpose or a meaning behind it. So I don't know. I love observing children. I think it's so fun to watch them, even on the playground, like just watching like who are they gravitating towards and like what's making them do this, or are they playing pretend, or are they more you know, practical in their play, and like you really just learn who that child is as a person through observing. And so it's, I don't know, I just feel like it's a good way to really get to know your child. Anything on that, Teresa, that you wanted to add before I move on to the next one?
I mean, I'm just thinking like, what a luxury. And I know it's hard. And I'm sure like Nicole's talking about having the two littles. I know it's hard to like, you know, think of taking the time to step back and observe. And we have a hard time in the class, you guys. It ebbs and flows and when we can do it. But you never regret it. And it really does give you this objective you know, understanding of your child. It's super fun and it's such a gift. So I feel like give yourself, try to give yourself that gift, even if it's like, you know, 4 or 5 minutes a week, just kind of feel it and let yourself have that. And then, you know, take those opportunities, you know, whenever you can. But, you know, it's just, and listening to like, you know, Melita's description, it's just all true. So I know you can laugh to yourself, like, when do I have time to sit and observe my child? But, you know, it's really worth it. Yeah.
It's fun to drink them in.
Yeah.
That's how I would describe it, you know? Okay, so following their lead, the phrase is follow the child. So let's first talk about what follow the child isn't. Look at these miserable parents. So it's not like being a doormat and letting your child run the show. It's not buying them a new toy whenever they want because, oh, they're showing interest. So like, let me get this toy for them. It's not just freedom. It's freedom within limits. You're creating those boundaries as we've talked about before. And now they have the freedom within those boundaries to work in. And it's not saying no. I kept writing this and thinking, is that the right thing to say? But so yeah, you can still say no to your child by all means. But what follow the child does mean is that it's allowing the child to participate in activities that they're interested in. So sometimes we unconsciously guide them into things. It's like, for example, with my own daughter, she is so, with us, she's very expressive and she'll do different accents and things like that. And I'm like, oh my gosh, Julia, like, are you sure you don't want to do an acting class? She's like, nope, it's not my thing. And I've asked her like annoyingly, like probably like 5 or 6 times, like, come on, don't you want to do it? Nope, don't want to do it. And so that's me subconsciously saying like, come on, this is what I want you to do. It's not, she's not telling me I want to take an acting class. This is me, my own desire for her. And I just need to learn to like, let it go and back off. Right. If you want to diversify their interests though, like let's say they are like super fixated on like dinosaurs or something, but you do want to introduce like more things, because we do have that, right? Where we in a classroom have a child who maybe all they want to do is like geography puzzles, you know? Well, then it's like, okay, now let me show you these pictures from South America and show you what life is like in South America. And now like, oh, and here's these 3-part cards on the food of South America. And so then you start bringing it to life. Or if they're like super into dinosaurs, bring math into it where you can use those as the counters or whatever, so that you can kind of bring in other things if they are like ultra focused on something. Resist the urge to lead. Stop doing for them. Sitting on your hands, because for me, that's what has helped. Is just sitting on my hands and like, nope, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to like step in. And allowing them to struggle. You want them to get through that struggle so that they're now incorporating this new skill into their repertoire, and now their comfort zone has now just expanded because now they've gained this new skill because they were able to work through it and you weren't there to just jump in and do it for them. And allow them to show you who they are. Like, you don't have to shape them. They already are their own person. And so by giving them, you know, the right tools and guidance, again, to me, that's not like shaping your child. That's giving them guidelines of like what, you know, how they should behave or whatever in certain situations. But they're their own person. And so let them show you who they are. And acknowledge that the child is their own person. Sometimes our children are very different from us, and we need to take the time to understand and respect them in those ways. And the example that I had to share, and not to bring my own therapy into it, is that my mom, I'm a very emotional person and have been since I was a child, always very sensitive, cried at the drop of a hat because I'm just a deep feeler. And my mom is not. She's the exact opposite of me. She hates showing emotion. And I always felt like she didn't know what to do with me, because she didn't know how to like, how to almost even interact with me and like how to comfort me, even to this day. And so I still have always felt misunderstood and kind of like an outsider. And so when your child is different from you, just making that extra effort to try to understand them and talk to them and see what it is that they're feeling, and like come a little bit further to that halfway mark to meet them, so that they do feel like they belong and that they are understood and respected. And then again, freedom within limits, love it. This is a whole other topic that we spent like an hour and a half on at our last parent education meeting, so I won't go too deep into it. But remember both pieces to this. I think it's really important to balance the freedom and the limits, and not be heavy on one end or the other. So now the fun part, two of you guys shared some pictures with us, and then I went through my Facebook pictures and added my own as well. So here is Carson. There's those knives that I was referring to, and he's cutting a pepper. Love when kids are involved in the kitchen. I think that is so important.
It looks like you have one of those stools there. Is that right, Nicole? Is Nicole still on here?
I think she put a note that she jumped off.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she had to jump off, but yeah, she has a helper is what they're called.
Yeah.
And then here's Charlie. She's got all kinds of stuff going on. She's got the stool too over here on the right. You can see it. And like, look how tall that makes her. I love that. Okay. And then like learning how to use a mixer, like that can be hard for people. Like it kind of goes every which way, and learning how to like stabilize that's awesome.
Every night she's like, "Can I get my step stool?"
Yeah.
Yes, you can get it. Go ahead, get it.
It's awesome. Yeah. And like, just like making her own sandwich. I just feel like those are such valuable experiences for them. I always just think of our kids when they go off to college or whatever they choose to do, and that they can like do laundry and cook for themselves. and here's our kids at 3, 4, 5 years old already doing that, you know, like that's awesome. And then here's Julia. This is when I was potty training her, so she was just in underwear here, but but this is when she had just turned 2, and yeah, she's helping stir. She's able to like flatten out the dough. We were making cookies, you know, so even at a young age, like they're just capable of so much. And I don't think that people recognize that or even think to incorporate them sometimes because we think that they can't. But I think, you know, just give them a shot. This is more kitchen stuff, but this is her as she grew of how like her progress throughout with the kitchen. So here she is. I think she was closer to like 3 in both of these pictures, but like at 3, she was learning how to crack an egg, you know? And so like, I think my other preface to this is like, you have to be okay with a mess. You have to be okay with cracked eggshells in your batter sometimes, and it's okay. And you'll say, oh, that's okay. We'll pick them out. And they can help pick them out, you know? And, but the more that they do it, the better that they're going to get. And I always like I hate the phrase practice makes perfect. I like the phrase practice makes better, because that's the goal, right? We just want to be better than what we were the last time. And then here she is just spooning, we were making enchiladas. And so she was spooning the salsa over all of those. And now here in this picture, she's older. I think she's probably like 5 or 6 here. And now she was able to like start chopping things, and she was getting more comfortable with being near the heat source. It still kind of freaks her out whenever we put stuff in or out of the oven. And so we're still working on that, but I think practicing this is really helpful, so that now she's actually to the point where like, okay, I'm comfortable being near like a hot source. And then this was our setup with the dishes and bowls and everything. And then having your child help set the table. So here she is setting the table. She knew where everybody was going to sit, how it's laid out. This is actually a work in the toddler room where they have a placemat with marks of like a big circle. And that's where the plate goes, and a circle like this where the cup goes and the fork and everything. Helping with groceries. Oh my gosh, how many of us try to get all of it at once? Get a helper, use your children, and, you know, helping, okay, where does the milk go? Where does the pasta go? Okay, where does this go? And helping, and like, look how happy she is here to be helping. Like, I love that. This, this picture on the left I took because, I was sitting in the family room and I was watching her, and I guess there was no bag in the garbage can. And instead of her being like, there's no bag in the garbage can, she just went and got a bag and put it in herself without even thinking about it. That's just like what we do, right? And so that's her proud face, because I was like, that was so great. And I think she was probably like 3 or 4 here. And then gardening. Oh, I love incorporating a garden if you can into your home so that they can be caring for that. Also with pets, I think that's huge, like being able to like feed pets. You know, I just got Julia a cat for her birthday, and I have not cleaned that litter box once because I refuse to. It's her cat, she's gonna clean it. And then this is just examples of like when you follow their lead. So I think when you can like when you're in a controlled environment and they can just take the lead, that's awesome. So like on the left, that's her. Again, she was probably 2 or 3 in that picture. We were in a corn maze. So it's a controlled environment, like nothing, like I don't care how long we were gonna be in there, but we gave her the map and said, okay, you lead the way. And so giving them that opportunity to kind of be in charge, right? And so as much as you can, like if you're at the zoo, okay, where do you want to go first? Okay, you're also teaching them how to read a map in that lesson as well, right? And then this picture on the right, we were at the Children's Museum, and she was probably just 2 in this picture. And I knew, and I actually used to work at the DuPage Children's Museum when I like had just graduated. And so even then I was taught like, oh, let the child lead, follow the child. And so here I am, this newer mom with my 2-year-old, and she sat at that Lego light table for like 40 minutes. And I was so bored. And I was like, can we go somewhere else, is what I wanted to say. But I knew that this is what she wanted to do. This is what she was into. And who was I to say, well, I, the adult, am bored and like, let's go see other things, right? Like, well, if this is how you're enjoying and spending your time, that's fine with me. And that's why memberships are great. Because you can go back as many times as you. And then these are just some resources. I put this graphic of these stars over IKEA because I love it so much. They just have so many things that are Montessori friendly, especially in the kids department, and I love it. So yeah, you can always find a ton of things at IKEA. These are some blogs that I like. My favorite one is this first one, the Kavanaugh Report. That's where I got some of these pictures for the presentation. I think she just has like really great explanations of what she's doing and why. Another one is How We Montessori. Then there's those videos that we have on YouTube. And then there's these 3 books. The first one, the Montessori Home one, is more about specific rooms in your house. So each chapter is its own like room and how to make it more Montessori friendly. This second book, Montessori at Home, is more divided by age range. So if you want to look at it by age range, there's that option. And then the third book, the Montessori Method at Home, is definitely more in depth, and I feel like almost flirts with being a book for teachers too, in a way. So if you want to get more in depth as far as the like different types of works that you could incorporate, that's a good one for that. And that's it. So I will stop sharing my screen. And then let me look at the chat and see if we didn't address something.
So while Melita's doing that, I have to say, I think my favorite picture of the at-home examples was with Charlie making the peanut butter and jelly, because I feel like what we don't realize is happening, you know, we're all, I mean, it's such a small like side effect that we don't always think of, but they're really helping us too. That's not our motivation. Hopefully our motivation is, you know, helping them feel valued and teaching them responsibility and some of these intangibles that will last a lifetime for them. But seriously, you guys, they can make their own peanut butter and jelly sandwich. How fun is that? They're hungry and you can go, yeah, go make it yourself. And what a great feeling that is when she's over there making it. And, you know, it's just a win-win. So, you know, having them be capable and independent in the house really helps you. It takes some time to set it up, but long time, it does make your job easier, you know, because you're doing it together. You know, it doesn't make you less as a parent. I think it makes you more because you're teaching them so many skills that we can see and we can't see until they middle school and high school, you know. So
well, and she teaches me that too, because literally it's, Mom, I want a peanut butter and jelly sandwich and don't help me. I want to do it myself. And she knows now where to get everything. So it's, you know, it's like she tells me, don't help me.
right.
And sometimes she has to tell me that because I'm, you know, just wanting to help her. And she's like, you go over there. She'll even tell me like, you go over there. I'm going to do it myself. I'm like, okay.
And you're okay with the mess, like Melita said earlier.
Yeah.
So that's, you know, you can't stand over and hover, you know?
Yeah.
No, she, and just like Melita said, it, you know, the first time she did it, it was a mess.
Yeah.
But she does it now where she doesn't make a mess anymore.
Melita, do we have time for to share, like Melita had asked me if there was anything else to add, and all I had really to add, because her presentation is awesome, was things that I find where practicing at home help at school. And I just wanted to say that the only, well, not the only, but the number one from the teachers when we talk item that we notice takes the longest is dressing. And so especially in the winter, because we have snow pants and jackets and boots and hats and gloves and mittens and everything else. But even though winter is hopefully, knock on wood, over, we still have times where they have accidents, they get wet, and they have to go change. And while most of the time there will be a teacher observing, making sure they have what they need, oftentimes we do just let them, try for themselves and change, and we'll guide them verbally. But one thing that I found has helped me as a mom is having that practice at home. And so what I'll share with you briefly is, so this came out of a need. Our mornings are chaotic. My oldest, even though he is 8, and you think it would be easier, he has a harder time choosing clothing. It has to match a certain way. He's also like,
if it doesn't feel right, it's
super sensitive. I can, like, the seams, like, he can feel them somehow.
Yeah.
I'm like, "How do you
If
feel
the
it
sock
today?"
doesn't line up with the toes, nope.
So this came out of a need. I got this little setup together. So funny enough, like, my toddlers get dressed easier and faster than my oldest. So this little area is where they get dressed. My now 5-year-old and Una, who's 3. So what I do is, and here's the freedom within limits. I choose the night before 2 outfits for Una and 2 outfits for Ozzy. And they each have a chair that they came to the store with me and picked out at Home Depot. It wasn't
One of the
like,
homes.
we were out not really thinking about this, but they saw these and they're like, oh, let's get these for our dressing area. We were looking for stools, and these are actually like planters, but they're in the shape of a chair. So, and they're low enough so they sit here. They, put socks on here. They get dressed in this area, and this is always Una's, this is always Ozzy's. Una, being the girly girl that she is, has a basket for headbands and bows. And then up here, she can, and this is low, this is all low enough. Like, this is at eye level for a little bit. Actually, they're both taller now, but they can see in here, and there's lotion, there's a hairbrush, there's her sunglasses. From a young age, I think girls just take up more space, and this is like little corner. He only has like 2 sunglasses and the lotion. And then Una also has, once she's chosen her outfit for the day, then she can choose. Do you guys recognize these?
Oh, yeah.
Then she can choose that. And then right over here we have shoes. And so we don't wear shoes in the house, but they can choose they can pick it, and they bring it downstairs and then put it on when it's time to go, and they just leave it by the door. But I just wanted to share that really quick, because I know in the mornings we all want to just rush out of the home and just do it for them. Like, that was my mistake. I was doing everything for them, and it was just dragging everything out. Now it's all laid out here. They can choose. They can still, I mean, the closet's right there, but they don't touch it. I do that. I set it up. They come over, and then they decide which of the 2 shirts. And I also put out pants too. They don't pick that the night before. It just, I tried that. It became too much. It was like, oh, well, I want the princess, but I don't want to wear it with this skirt. And it was dragging. So I pick it. And then this is like a really cheap plastic drawer at their level from Walmart, like $30. It's not very sturdy, but it's easy for them to just pull in and out. And so they can choose their underwear and socks. They can pick their pajamas out of there. So it was just bedtime is so much easier. They can just go and do it. I can, finish up plates or, put dishes in away. And I know that they're doing it without me having to be there. And I just wanted to, I know that was a lot, but I just wanted to share that because not only does it help you, but then it'll help us at school too. Getting them ready at wintertime, especially at wintertime, they just you can see Carson, oh, Nicole's not here, but at the beginning, he was just be like, just fall on the floor, I can't do it. And now, with Carson, we're going outside. He's in there. He's got the snow pants on and he's ready to go. We're still working on the zipper, but that comes with practice too. And I just love to see that progress of where they're giving up to I'm ready to go.
I love that. I'm obsessed with your setup. I love it. That is so great.
I have to say, I had to take away, so I had 2 mirrors. I had a mirror here and a mirror here, one for each. I had to take them down because it became, it was distracting.
Mm-hmm.
For Una, it was Ariel in the mirror, and it was oh, I want a braid here, and I don't like it down here. I want my hair higher up. Ozzy is a boy, he doesn't care, but he was still playing with the mirror and making faces, and so then it was okay, time to go, and then he didn't want to go because he was having too much fun. So I mean, maybe as they get older, I'll put them back up, but there's a mirror in the bathroom, so if they're blowing nose, they can look, they can access that mirror. They have a stool so they can reach. If they're brushing teeth, they can see themselves. And if they're brushing hair, they can also see. But you got to work with what works for you, and depending on how much time you also have in the mornings. But for us, it had to be structured and it had to be go, 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 because it just was too much for me to do all. And that was my mistake. But, you learn from it and you have to work, find what works for you and your family.
You guys, I'm obsessed with it too, Giovanna, but mostly because it was a problem and you realized, oh my gosh, and then you solved it by getting them involved in it. And it is beautiful, inviting. I want to get dressed over there. It's she has the kids have everything they need. It's so awesome. And what I heard from Giovanna is, as she's talking through it, is it wasn't perfect at first. So don't give up. If you're it doesn't work for me to get them involved in bringing the laundry down and sorting it. Okay, well, step back and observe and see what's going wrong. That's what we do all the time. We always are okay, something's not working here. But before I make a judgment or just give up, what do I got to tweak or revise? So you stopped letting them pick their stuff out at night because that was causing just as much of a problem, and realized, okay, I'm just going to give them a couple of choices. And I love that. It kind of kept changing and evolving until now it's you're a miracle mom figuring this out, and that's, it's awesome. It's really cool.
And I would just want to build on that too, of what Teresa was saying. And that's, I think, why we focus so much on the environment, especially if there is something that's not working in our classrooms. My first thought is, what do I need to change in the classroom environment to fix this problem? Is this shelf blocking a view and now I can't see them very often? And now it's this little hideout area and now they're all messing around there. So always reflecting and assessing and tweaking, right? The classrooms aren't the same all of the time. And, we move shelves and we do this because, now the kids are, there's more in this age group. And so we need to shift it this way. And so it's a constant changing and reflecting, and that's okay, and that's great. I think that's preferable instead of just locking and loading in one way. And so but Giovanna, I love that you reflected, owned the fact that like I'm doing too much and it's making it harder. And I'm going to involve my kids in solving this solution. And now we're going to move forward with it. And then adjusting. Oh, the mirrors aren't working. Okay, let's take them off. Like that. It's perfect. And I also just want to say that 2-year-olds can do that too. I don't want us to think that only the 3, 4, and 5-year-olds can do it. Absolutely, the toddlers can too. I mean, that's where I've spent most of my time at MCG, and I know how capable that they are. And yeah, I mean, and as they grow, they can do more, obviously. And I'll just add for my own thing with Julia's closet is I mean, I didn't even think about it. I had always kept her shorts and pants up on the shelf and her clothes hanging. And then we had like a little drawer for like her socks and stuff. And I was like, how am I supposed to expect her to pick out what to wear for herself if she can't even reach the pants? And so I just got like a shoe shelf thing and I put it in the closet underneath the clothes that were hanging. And I just put all the pants down there and like problem solved now, and I think also having them participate in laundry, I think is really important, even at a young age. So like when Julia was like 2, I would have her just pick out her underwear. So like find all of the underwear. So helping you with like sorting and things like that. Then she got tall enough where she was able to start putting clothes on her own hanger and hanging them up in the closet. And now we've transitioned to like, she's taking it and putting it in the washer and putting the soap in and doing it all. And because I told her, I was like, you're old enough to do this. I shouldn't be even touching your laundry anymore. So, but like, that's the goal, right? Like, but it starts early to start doing that and then raising the bar as they get older, and you incorporate more and more so that they're becoming more and more independent in whatever area that it is. So, I think the only question I saw on here was Dana, when you were saying that she wants to keep everything. I would say for that, well, one, I might have her understand that, maybe like explain to her that there are people who don't have this many toys and that they could use them, so that her outlook is bigger than just herself in her own home. And then say, okay, I'm going to have this here, but if you don't play with it within, a week, then we're donating it. It's kind of what I would say. Cause honestly, a lot of the stuff just sits there,
And what I've tried to do, like what I'm doing right now, and I don't know if it's going to work yet or not, but, like, cause I do, cycle things. So, I pulled out a bunch of stuff that I don't see her play with. Right. So that's what's up in our spare bedroom right now. And I'm like, if she doesn't ask me for it, like, cause has been a couple of things she's asked for, like, Mom, where did this go?
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, we can get it out, whatever. But I said, and then she went in there one day and she's like, this is where all my toys are. And I'm like, well, these are things you don't play with. And if you forget about them, we're going to donate them. And so I told her that, but I just did it like a couple weeks ago. So I was like, I'm going to give it a little bit of time, but that's kind of been my plan. Like, hey, I'm going to donate this stuff.
Yeah.
So, and we give stuff to like her younger cousins and stuff. And I tell her that, like, you're too big to play with this now. We're going to give it to, your baby cousin, whatever. And that stuff she's kind of better with, but stuff I want to just get rid of and donate, like, we're done. She's, I tried to like, hey, let's put these in piles. And she's like, no, I want this. I want this. I want this. I want this. It's like, as soon as she sees it again, she wants to keep it. So I was hoping that out of sight, out of mind, but it's just a couple times I had to have her like do it with me when I'm like, let's clean out the playroom. She's everything. I'm like, okay, you don't even play with this anymore. She's like, no, I want it. I'm gonna play with it right now. you know.
Yeah,
so.
I used to do it when Julia would go to a birthday party, and
Mhm.
and I was like, Eric, don't come back yet. Like, go for a quick walk and
Right.
like get it all out. But I do think so. If you can balance it, because I do think that there's value in involving her in the purging,
Right.
so that she develops that mindset of like, we need to get rid of it. So I would say, if it were me, I would probably do 3/4 of it without her there, and then leave like 1/4 of it and say,
Okay.
okay, like, let's go through this together, so that she's practicing and building that up.
That's a really good suggestion. I'll do that.
Does anybody else have any questions?
Melita, I think a question came up about sharing the slides.
Oh yeah, so
Mhm,
I've
same as
recorded this whole presentation, and I will I'll save this the PowerPoint as a PDF, and then I will send that to everybody who is on here for sure.
Another comment, or I get 2 quick comments. I hear everybody. I know it's hard to control what grandparents and what kind of gifts, you know, your children receive, and then you're sorting through those. But I would just really keep in mind as you're converting a room, or gosh, you got one picture, but you'd like to have another one for a backup. Montessori services, I don't know if that's on the list of resources. I can't remember from what you had, but
It's
they have a
not.
lot. They have a lot of child size practical life activities and just child size furniture. So that's a good resource. So like, think about that for a birthday or Christmas or holiday, you know. I mean, I have to say that probably every child here would love getting a child-sized picture, because they know what that is, you know. They'd be like, oh, this is just like I have at school, you know. So it might seem lame to a grandparent, but if you explain like this is helps them do things at home, or a child size, you know, broom or hand sweeper or whatever it might be. I think those are just some ideas, and maybe a little shift in how you think of gifts, and it could help you as you start thinking about the next room. Oh, what do I need for that, you know? And one last thing about, I think at home we hear a lot, like, how do you get them to put that away? How do you get them to listen to you? They don't even argue. How do you, you know, it's less of a, first of all, we set the expectation. So there's not another choice besides putting it away, you know, but we set that expectation, and then it's more just like, I know you forgot. So I know you know to do this. I know you forgot. So, you know, it might just be like, oh, you know, Callie, can you go scoot your chair in? We're trying to be better about, I scooted or let's go scoot our chairs on. Look, we left them out. You know, so just like making it more of a casual conversation. Like, I know you didn't do it on purpose, you know, just, oh, Kelly, can you go scoot your chair? And oh, look, we forgot to put that away. Can you stop a second and go put that away before you go back to your puzzle? I mean, that's what we do at school, you know? So it's less of a you hounding them all the time and more of a general expectation, but you don't let them get away with it. You know what I mean? If you're really wanting them to put their things away and that's a struggle in your house, then that's a good time for you to, like, maybe you're reading a book while they're working on their new low shelves that you guys put together. And then you notice they're getting 2 or 3 things out. And that's a really great time to say, oh, Charlie, do you think you could put that puzzle and that puzzle away before you go back to that? Because, you know, we want to make sure they don't get broken. We're just like, oh, we don't want them to get lost or broken, you know. After a while, you don't really even have to say anything. You just be like, oh, you know, but you know, that problem is not there in the class because the expectation is there in the class. So you can do it.
And I did see, Veronica, your comment wondering if Rahet was too small for the picture. She's not. She can do it.
I was just gonna say, like just 2 days ago, I said, do you want to eat an orange? And she said, yes. Did you share it with me? I said, yeah, I'll share it with you. So I opened the fridge for her because obviously the handle is too high for her. So I opened the fridge and I told her where it is. She knows where it is, but I told her to open the door. She took it out and she said, I want to peel it. And she actually peeled the orange. She took a little longer, but she actually peeled the whole orange and she was so proud. I said, okay, from tomorrow you're peeling your own oranges. But I just wanted to say that it's been, I think, sending her to school at an early age. I think, especially Montessori style school has been probably one of the best decisions that I've taken. I mean, she's not even 3 yet, but soon to be 3. But I've actually seen her grow so much. And the fact that she wants to do things on her own, I think it's been wonderful. Like, she doesn't allow us to do anything for her. So even now, she's even wearing her socks on her own. And I was telling my mom, and my mom couldn't believe it. But she's even wearing her socks on her own. I just taught her once, and then she's figured it out. And she's just trying to do everything on her own. And I'm definitely very, very happy that she's willing to take the initiative and do things on her own. Don't help me. You know, even if we try, sometimes we don't know that she can do it, and I would just put on her sock. Now I know she can do it, but she would start crying and she would get frustrated. Why did you do it, Mama? Why did you do it? Like, I'm sorry, Red, I'm not going to do it from tomorrow. So I would and she would just take it back off, and then she would want to do it on her own. So I'm just so happy that, you know, she's willing to do things. And now she's at an age, I feel that she's giving me instructions and giving my husband instructions. You know, Papa, did you brush your teeth today? Did you brush your teeth? Go brush your teeth. So she's giving us instructions now. It's just nice to know that you know, she's learning so much, and then she wants to be independent. So it's just amazing. Yeah, I just need to, I feel this presentation was very helpful. So I definitely need to make certain things around the house more accessible for her. Like all her toys, everything, her books, everything is on her level, they're accessible. She takes them out. Sometimes we'll put them back, sometimes won't. But the moment you put the cleanup song on, she would, you know, start cleaning up. To say, will you clean up with me? She wouldn't want to do it all by herself. So I'll help her a little bit, and then she would do it all. But at least I feel that, you know, she's willing to do it, and she loves helping in the kitchen. So, you know, it was really nice to just understand the philosophy deeper today. And like I said, it was, I think, a very good decision to send her to a Montessori style of education, because she's just growing more and more independent, and it's amazing to see that. So yeah, I just wanted to add that.
You know what would be really fun is for you guys, I'm sure you'll all do something. We don't expect your house to be like totally turned upside down next week, but when you start making those changes, send those pictures into us with a little, even a before and after would be really fun to see if you're brave enough. You know, that would be great, and probably just give more people more ideas, like, you know, like what Giovanna's done, you know, that would be really fun. And I just have to say, you guys, we all love Melita, obviously, and she's very talented, but, you know, she really put this one together all by herself, and it's just beautiful and practical and a lot of hard work. So thank you, Melita, for doing all the
thanks. But Veronica, thank you so much for saying what you said, because that, like, your comments almost brought me to tears right now, because I think, you know, that's all that we hope for, right? We want our kids to be happy and independent and, you know, just growing, right? We want to see that growth, and the fact that you're seeing that at home too, and that she wants to do all those things for herself is so fantastic, and that it's carrying over and becoming a part of who she is, right? Like, she's showing you who she is, like we said, right? So yeah, that's awesome. I love it.
Yes, I've stopped interrupting her. I just let her do her own thing. And even if she gets frustrated, I still don't interrupt. I ask her now, so do you need help? And then I ask her, and she says yes, then I'll go and help. Otherwise, I don't even go and help her anymore. I think the more I try to help her, she gets more frustrated. So I just stopped helping her. And I think that part of the reason is the way probably I've been brought up. I've been brought up in an extremely protective environment in India. And, you know, my parents did everything for me. And it was just a very different environment that I was brought up in. And I just feel that definitely moving here was a big change, but I feel I'm definitely much more independent. And I think I always had it in me, because I had no problems adjusting here. But seeing Rehed, you know, being so independent from such an early age and allowing her to do her own thing, I think is amazing. Even like, so she's figured out a way to even switch on. She's short in height, because I'm short. I don't think she's going to be super tall. But She's even figured out a way to switch on the light on and off in the bathroom. She
Mm.
moved the step stool away, like when she's sitting on the potty, she'll now move it away, put it under the switch. She'll climb up and she'll switch it on and off now. She's like, you're not going to switch on the light anymore. I said, okay. So she does it on her own. So it's amazing. So yeah, so thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for, and I will say this to everybody on here is thank you all for sharing your kids with us, because like we just love them and enjoy them, and we love watching them grow. And like Giovanna said with Carson and his snow pants, and it's like, you know, in one season, right? In one winter, he went from, oh my gosh, this is so overwhelming, I can't do it, to, oh, this is a piece of cake, let me get on this, you know? And so so much growth happens in such a short amount of time in this age group. And so the fact that you guys let us be a part of it is just a blessing for us. So thanks for sharing your kids with us.
And as a parent, I'm just gonna say, I hope you don't hate me for saying this, but like Melita and Teresa will be a resource for years to come. Montessori isn't just, you know, at NCGS from 2 to 6, but it's beyond that. So like I reach out to Melita a lot, and I talk to Teresa a lot, because I have an 8-year-old and I'm like, wait, so how does this work as they get older? And Melita has shared resources with me, and Oliver now makes his own lunches. And that was something where that was a struggle a year ago. And she's like, well, this is what I do with Julia. We have this menu. She chooses from the menu. And I was like, what? How did you do that? She'd share the template with me. And so, you know, I adjusted our mornings in that way as well. So reach out. I just have to say thank you, Teresa, for always being so patient because it's a learning process. You think like, you know, you think you conquered your toddler years, and then something else happens. And thank you, Melita, because I've been able to go, you know, you've been able to be there right alongside for me and Oliver. So I just want to say, you know, it doesn't stop at 6.
Mm-hmm.
It becomes a lifestyle too.
Mm-hmm.
The Montessori philosophy. So I hope it's okay if I put it out there that they can reach out.
Of course.
Yeah,
Sure, we love talking about it. It's obvious.
Love it. Just so you all know, and Teresa, I haven't even told you this yet. After I am done with my Montessori program on in early June, I'm gonna get a Montessori themed tattoo. So I just love it. I love it so much.
The pink tower. What are you gonna do?
No, I'll show you my design idea. But I will let everybody go. I will email the slides over, and then for those who missed it, I'm going to try to upload this on YouTube, and I'll just send it out so that if you guys want to reference back to the actual session, you can. So yeah, thank you guys for taking time out of your day to hang out with us and learn more about the philosophy that we love. And like Teresa said, if you have before and after pictures, send them our way. We love to see it.
Thanks, Melita.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you guys so much. This was awesome. Thank you.